Okay, guys, we're gonna be starting in a brief moment. We're just waiting on a couple more people, and then we should get started. Okay. right, guys, we're gonna start. Hafide, everyone. My name is Zaraya Dries. I am the chairman of the UOG Criminal Justice Spring 2025 Forum Group. I know that's a long topic. Our topic is about public safety and social justice on Guam, who's responsible for what. We aim to explore the legal, social, and economic impacts of panhandling upon the homeless and impoverished, advocate for solutions that balance public safety with compassion, and address the issues of the misuse of panhandling. For today's forum, we will be asking our panelists, who we will introduce in a minute, 10 questions which will be divided into segments regarding the issue. I'm hoping that our panelists did get the email that our forum project is very limited on time, and we'll try our best to get through all the questions if possible. If we do not get through all the questions and a panelist would like to answer the questions still, the forum group will be able to post their answers to our social media platform for the public to review. On the side in the crowd, I do have Paul and his bell to keep track of the time. Note that you will hear 2 bell rings. The first bell means that you have a minute left, and the second one means time is up. You have 3 minutes to speak once you say a word. Before I close out my welcoming remarks, I would like to thank each and everyone who has made it, including our outreach team in our capstone class. So we're gonna move on to the honorable mentions, which we have in the crowd are Dean Jones, if you can just raise your hand. And then Professor Uggan will be joining us later. As of right now, we're gonna be introducing the panelists.
We'll be starting here from the right to the left. The chief is on his way of police, Stephen Ignacio. And then next we have a director, Robert J. San Augustine, Office of the Homeless and Poverty Prevention. Okay, next we have Senator Tina Munoz Barnes from the 38th Legislature. Okay, and then we have Tumuning Mayor Luis Rivera. Okay, and then we have Marshally Bacchiano, Professor of Psychology. We appreciate it, thank you. And then least but not least, Attorney General Douglas Moylan. Okay, with that, I'll hand it off to the MC.
Hafide panelists, we're going to start off with the first segment. What is your view on social justice on Guam? So this is an open format. If anyone wants to make comments, you can just pass the mic. Thank you.
Hafide and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Manana Sizos. On your question number 1, what is your view on social justice on Guam? I personally want to say that I support social justice. For me personally, it's ensuring that the most vulnerable, especially the indigent, are given the tools to provide for themselves. And in the efforts of working with an aggressive panhandling citation, it was not an easy task for me, but on my view for social justice is I literally support it because it really makes sure that those who are in the indigent community and vulnerable are given the necessary tools to literally provide and do for themselves.
Thank you.
For me, social justice is just about fairness. Being able to assist people and let them know what programs we have available to them, and to also let them understand, for fairness and justice, it's really all about respect too. So in dealing with panhandling, the situation and all that, there's different things that happen with that, and I just don't appreciate them taking advantage of people's good hearts. Thank you.
To add to what they have said already, personally, I believe that social justice is the absence of structural violence. So, well, it's not mine. It's Johan Galtong's idea. But anyway, for me, also, social justice is a dynamic process in which we actually advance social arrangements that mitigate all forms of injustices and forge new orders where we reduce inequalities and satisfy the basic needs and rights of our people. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. And I guess I'll add, for social justice for me and my agency or my division, it's trying our best to advocate for equity with government services by being aware of obstacles and barriers that people face and making sure to avoid marginalizing groups and then empowering citizens to make good decisions for their well-being and for the overall well-being of the community.
Sir.
I think the problem we're facing right now is what exactly is social justice? My interpretation of social justice, the next person's interpretation of social justice is very amorphous. So what we have to focus ourselves on is what is the public policy makers of our island consider social justice, the senators. So until we come to an agreement on what exactly is our definition of social justice, we have to look to the statutes that are passed, the policies that are set by our lawmakers, and then understand what each role of we leaders in the government is. The Attorney General's office is primarily the chief law enforcement officer of the government, also the government's counselor, that civil role that the AG plays. So if we talk about panhandling is a policy set by Senator Barnes as well as the rest of the senators that we elect into these positions. So I think it's very dangerous to be talking about what social justice is, because you run the risk of becoming a socialist communist and taking from the rich and redistributing the wealth. So that's my feeling on it. Somebody's got to define exactly what is social justice in our society. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question, should panhandling be decriminalized, or do stricter laws need to be implemented?
Thank you for that question. For me personally, I want to say that I was the one who authored the legislation, and I worked hard on the aggressive panhandling law in the 32nd Guam legislature, and that was literally over 12 years ago. And I have to share that panhandling is a protected speech, right? It's a part of our First Amendment rights. It is the act of begging for food, money, or other forms of assistance from strangers in public places. Usually it happens on the streets, and common among individuals experiencing homelessness and financial hardship, and involving holding a sign or playing music or directly asking other folks for donation. The legislature, the policy-making body, can only regulate time and place and manner of speech. So bill number 75-32, which is now Public Law 32-071, does this. And I think, for me personally and my colleagues back in the 32nd Guam legislature, is that we balanced the need to protect an individual's rights and the safety concerns that come with panhandling through this bill. And if you look at the citation in Chapter 8 on the Aggressive Panhandling Act of 2013, the legislative findings and intent on Section 3801 was purposely placed in there to give the reasoning of why we wanted to do this. And believe me, it wasn't an easy task. I literally had the hard time, and those that opposed this bill back then in the 32nd Guam legislature was the media itself. And for me, when we talk about the social justice and the following of time, I mean, working and making sure our streets are safe. This bill was to make sure that there was a balance out there, free speech, and what you can and cannot do on our streets or on our sidewalks. Thank you. Is that a double, one for 2 minutes and two for 3 minutes? 2 minutes, one ring for 2 minutes, and then 2 rings for the rest. Okay. Wanted to make sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'll add, just for panhandling, I believe the law as it's written now, it's pretty adequate to address the safety of drivers and those who are on the side of the road panhandling. We want safety for drivers on the road, and at the same time, we want those in cars not be aggressively addressed and approached for their own safety. So, as the law is written now, I believe that it does, as Senator said, balance out the need of the community and safety and the law.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I don't like panhandling at all. For the safety of those individuals and everyone around. Again, when they're out there like that, some are very aggressive, and a lot of times, I hear complaints about it, how they were treated. So, altogether, I just want it to stop. A lot of times I go out there and I talk to them and ask them, who's your mayor? Go to your mayor and work hard with them. There's other ways to raise funds in a safer environment. And so, again, whatever can be done to stop them from doing that, I'd like to make that happen. And it's, for even government agencies to go out there and start collecting, doing a boot drive. We see kids out there trying to raise funds for their off-island tournaments and things like that. I'm telling you, there's a lot of other ways that are safer. They shouldn't be on the streets. The streets is for us to travel and get to our destination safely without having to worry about a bunch of panhandlers out there blocking the road or banging on your window. And so I'd like for it to stop completely. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question, what challenges does your organization face when addressing panhandling?
For me, I think it's just the change of behavior for it. So our challenge is trying to change the mindset of someone that is on the side of the road asking for money. Again, it is offering jobs, offering any kind of opportunity, seeing if they're on SNAP or have that kind of support for food, and just kind of peeling back that onion and understanding what led them there, why they're there, and then leading them to the assistance that exists so that they can change that trajectory of what they're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Again, like I have mentioned, I do go out there and talk to them. Many people do call me about the panhandlers, especially if they're in our area, in our municipality. We have a lot that are out there, so again, I try to work with different business owners to see if they can get hired. I talk to these panhandlers and let them know, I talk to them about them being able to have strength to be out there and stand out there in the hot sun all day. What if they can come in and get a job that has great benefits, for them? So that's what we do as our agency, and we let them know that it's not safe to be out there because a car might lose control. The driver, may be the one to lose control and hit you, and we don't want you out there for your safety as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Before I continue to my next question, anyone else? Oh, Senator?
Okay, what does this do? Let's figure this out. Senators pass a law. The executive branch is responsible for enforcing it, right? So get down to the practical side. The chief of police can designate anyone in the law enforcement community to enforce the law. The attorney general is the chief legal officer of the government. If we don't enforce these laws, you're going to have scoff type treatment like we've had for several years now, that people right in front of our faces are breaking the law. It is a violation, which means it's a ticketing offense. So it's like somebody speeding in your village. If you do it enough times, someone's going to get hurt. Respect the fact that the senators passed the law. The law specifically makes, especially panhandling in the intersections, as well as in the sidewalks next to the intersections, illegal. Sidewalks are highly regulated on how you do that activity. Get to the bottom of it. The compassion that these panhandlers are asking for all of us is highly questionable. Are they on welfare? Are they receiving the benefits of the safety net systems that we have out there? Or are they just gaming the system so that they can guilt trip you in your cars as you're waiting and having to deal with them? KUAM just covered that woman that was hit, hospitalized, and died, literally a homeless panhandler that was in the area of Harmon. Our team has had to literally put together these three gentlemen, these four individuals that are with us today, to ticket these guys. We have had, because the Attorney General believes that this is a bad behavior on Guam that influences our community in a bad way, teaches our children that it's okay not to be the American dream where you work hard and you get paid and you succeed, but be the lowest of the barrel where you need to beg for your food. They are beggars. To give them the name panhandling is over identifying them. They should be picked up by our governor. Pick those guys up. You got a $1.4 billion budget. She controls about 80% of it. And take them to social workers, public health, and all the other social service providers that all of us pay for in every tax that we're charged. Guam is going in the wrong direction when we're spending all our time talking about panhandlers. We should be talking about getting the Taiwanese to bring their software equipment manufacturing to Guam, the Marianas, so our quality of life goes up. This is a financial issue that's facing Guam right now. Do we talk about bottom-of-the-barrel type beggars, or do we talk about attracting, using our duty-free status in our Organic Act in order to take advantage and improve everybody's quality of life? Do we encourage this idea that the American dream, you're in a capitalist, democratic society, you work hard, you will succeed? I'm speaking to the choir. Everybody in this room right now is trying to succeed. You're spending your money, investing it in yourselves and your education, and becoming productive members of our community. The panhandlers are a burden upon this community and have to be stopped. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am.
Go ahead. Okay. As you can see from the conversation, we can clearly see from the conversation that panhandling is a very complex social issue. And personally, I see it as just the tip of the iceberg, and below that is another very complex social issues concerning poverty, homelessness, and even unemployment. So if we are to come up with, how do we address that? How we address panhandling by also addressing these underlying social issues, which is, as I've said, complex.
And for me personally, right, when you ask what the challenges does your organization, for me, the organization would be the government of Guam, right? For me, it's implementation, enforcement, and the lack of resources, and whether it be funding or service providers to support those living in abject poverty and those dealing with mental health issues and substance abuse, those are all included in the equation. And what was previously said is the opportunity for the government to come together and truly find the root issue of why these folks would go out and do this panhandling. Each case or each constituent or each consumer may be different in why they're doing what they're doing. So for me, it's if we're looking at addressing the panhandling and the enforcement of it, it's in the law, right? And we give the Guam Police Department the reins to do and the fines and all that, but it's literally addressing the complex issues, as was noted, and really finding the root for each individual that is doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question, how does panhandling affect businesses, tourism, and the overall economy of Guam?
Okay. For this one, how does it affect the businesses, tourism, and the overall economy of Guam? I would say that our business community, especially the tourist businesses, have stated their concerns about the optics of the panhandlers on the roads, right? They also have reiterated the concern of safety and comfort. Those were part of the concerns of for their customers from aggressive panhandling near shops. And while I want to say that I recognize seeing panhandlers on the streets of Guam is disheartening, we as a community, both public and private, need to work together to find the solutions. And as I said earlier, when we look at finding solutions, it's finding that root of each individual concerns, whether it be substance abuse, whether it be mental abuse, whether it be financial hardships, whether it be domestic issues, whether it be just family fallouts. Those are all a part of the equation. And the complexities there, as noted from Marcia, right? Marcia? Yeah, that we have to take a greater look of how the community can address it. There are nonprofit organizations that are here to help. There are the government entities that are here. And if we can look at bringing back the interagency support when it comes to this, why should you throw them in jail for us to take care of them again when we could be able to find a solution through literally working with case management? And Mr. San Agustin and I were talking about that earlier, is how do we improve on case management for each consumer? So I'm working closely with the mayors, working closely with nonprofits, working closely with the agencies that need to be involved, whether it be public health, mental health, GURA, and all the necessary agencies, because government of Guam is here to provide for the basic services of health, education, and safety. So as we have provisions in place, how can we do a better job of bringing everybody to the same table? Thank you.
This does for the community affect everyone big time. The businesses, tourism, and that's why, a lot of people, they don't want to go to certain businesses. They say because all the panhandlers, the beggars that are outside that property. And so I would go over to the business owners and talk to them and see if maybe they can hire them to do maintenance around, at least pick up the trash. Or we talk to them about special projects, pick up all the trash down the street, down the road, because it is a big effect, not only for businesses, but just the entire island community. Thank you. And I'm here to beg for help. I was really happy that this forum was being put together. I love who's on the panel because all you guys are here to help. And please continue to know that this is really affecting everybody, and we need to come together to make things happen, to do things the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone? Sir?
To add, I think it is a challenge for businesses also, and this is not just talking about the panhandling on the streets and the medians. This is at storefronts where store owners are faced with the challenge of, what do we do with this guy? They don't want, they feel human too. They see this person in need and they want to help out. So a lot of the times we see them, and as long as they're not approaching anyone, which is in the law, if you approach anybody, that is against the law and enforceable. So it will affect, as you said, store patrons. But at the same time, if you look at it, they get money and they go into the store and they buy themselves drinks too. So, that store owner does get money in some kind of other way to it. So there are different economical effects for it. Tourism, again, it is an unsightly thing to see that, but in every jurisdiction around the states, everywhere you go, it is a problem that every jurisdiction faces.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let's understand, as government leaders, my view of our government is to maintain and improve our quality of life. Everything that we're doing up here, from the senators to the executive branch, to the attorney general, the public auditor, and the judiciary, is intended to maintain your quality of life, to understand what it is to be an American citizen, a United States citizen. With that body of rights, and we hear that in the national debate about those people that are illegal aliens coming into the U.S., we see that debate going on with the FSM and the non-U.S. citizens that are allowed into the United States that are committing crimes. Guam's economy has for decades, since I can remember in the 70s, always been dependent upon military spending, which is basically handouts from the federal government for the value of which we are in this part of the world, and tourism. Panhandling destroys especially tourism. Hawaii doesn't tolerate this. Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, Hong Kong, you look at those little island nations to our east, they don't tolerate this. They execute people in Singapore for even taking drugs. The behaviors that our society is tolerating right now is not tolerated by our neighbors who are successful economies. Their qualities of life are high because their leadership maintains their economic engines. On Guam, our economic engine with tourism is exactly what the panelists are saying. Nobody wants to see a panhandler at an intersection when they're coming to Guam to look at our beaches, to experience our culture, to see those sunsets that are priceless on this island. We're short-selling ourselves by tolerating the homeless, the panhandlers, and anyone associated with trying to spread a jungle-type living when we're in a modern society. This is the United States. So again, I refer to that. In my role as a counselor for the government, to my right, you see the Dignity Project. It's dignity. You need to shame those guys out of the intersections to protect them, to protect you, protect your kids in that car, and protect anyone around that intersection. They are dangerous when there's cars going around. And again, you saw it in the KUAM where that woman was hit right in the middle of that busy intersection, close to it in Harmon. The Dignity Project, our pan busters, telling the governor to do her job and use her entire cabinet to pick these people up. Assign a social worker to every panhandler and every person in that homeless and bring them in. And teach them, if you do it again, the Attorney General, the police department are going to put you in prison for trespassing, for violating the law. It is not legal to trespass on your properties. How would you guys like it if some panhandler set up their little camp right next to your house? With panhandling comes drugs, illegality, robberies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next question. What are the primary causes of panhandling on the island, and how can they be addressed? I know this is a complicated one.
Yeah. You know what? We can start off with what we all said earlier, right? It's poverty, it's substance abuse, it's mental health issues, it's drug abuse, it's domestic hardships, it's about not getting along with family. And my take is we don't need to reinvent the wheel in a lot of what's happening here. We just got to bring it up to the forefront. The interagency support within the government, working closely with our nonprofits also, we're working with other agencies that can help support these panhandlers is real. We can do it again. But it's the need also of the panhandler who wants that assistance. I was told that those who panhandle one time, there was a group and they came back and they were showing off of how much they made. One guy made $600 in less than an afternoon. One guy told the mayor, one lady told the mayor from Sinahanya that I send my daughter to college here at the university. Do you want to stop her from panhandling? Each case is different. Where do we work the compassion? Where do we work the enforcement? Where do we work the lack thereof if the government doesn't provide? But does that panhandler want help? A lot of times, just working closely with Mr. San Augustine is, we can give them a house, we can give them an apartment, but can they follow the ground rules? Some of them don't even want to close lights at 10 o'clock, if that is a part of the rules and regulations. So those are the things that need to be considered. And it is a multifaceted realm of things that happen and why people do panhandling.
It's as we have mentioned, it's a very complex social issue. We cannot just address it like I'm sorry, Senator, I'm not familiar with the law, but I'm sure the law is something. I believe that to address manhandling, because it's a structural issue, then the way we address it should be something that's structural, like having a law. And the kind of law that, for me personally, a kind of law that addresses structural violence, a kind of law that provides or satisfies the basic needs and rights of our people, a kind of law that's compassionate, and a kind of law that does not villainize panhandlers, because we don't really know what their situation is, as mentioned by Senator Tina here. I have I may sound like somebody who's had her head, in the clouds, but I'm a peace psychologist, and I believe in peace by means of peace. So I'm not into something that, I don't agree with stricter laws, but I support something that, reduces, a kind of law that reduces inequalities, a kind of law that helps our people, that allows them to have more access to health care, to education, and to even affordable housing. And that way, we can address panhandling. I mean, it's more complicated than that, but I go for, as I've said, peace by means of peace.
Thank you, ma'am.
And,
Sure.
panhandling in general, it is an easier effort than going to work. So that is something that, as a person, they'll take into account. Do they want to spend a half hour here and possibly get $5, or try to find a job and, go through, not having clothes, I don't have a car, I don't have all this stuff. So that is one aspect of what causes panhandling. Everything else the Senator said is also poverty, substance abuse, everything like that. So with those being the primary causes, and then how can they be addressed? For my job, I am have my social workers, and we're a soft-hearted side of the approach to what we're doing. So, what we can do to address them is just approach them on a human level. Everyone, no matter if they're rich, we saw the fires in California, your house is burned down, you're the same position as someone that's homeless. So, going to them and speaking to them on a personal level, just understanding what they're going through, and then pulling that apart and saying, okay, we can help with this one way, and then once we're done with that, we'll go to the next thing. There's always an opportunity that you can present to someone, so that one thing is that everyone wants to be in charge of their life, their choice. If that's taken away, that's when you get the resistance. So if you present these to the people and they take that, that's great. A lot of times that we approach people, it's not their time. Going to another conference on homelessness, we learned that it takes seven times for people to be asked if they want help to finally accept it. And so that is just a struggle that we deal with as a social agency. We see them constantly on the street and say, this time do you want help? And they don't want, they're fine. A month later they could have faced some other thing, and then you say, hey, do you want help now? And they're like, yeah, we'll take some help. And sometimes they stay on it, sometimes they don't, but that's just the human condition that we struggle with.
What is the primary cause of panhandling, and how can they be addressed? The primary cause of panhandling on Guam right now are the elected leaders. We are unable to get a handle on this segment of the community that is dragging us down from our quality of life. The danger that I see in the government as well is excuses. Overthinking the problem as opposed to getting right to the problem of what are the problems with the panhandlers. If you're talking about the segments that we're seeing out there, they just did recent reports on it, right? They publish it every year in terms of asking people. Number one, I can't find a job. Well, government, get them a job, especially in our economy right now that's being supercharged by the military and the contractors out there scrambling and having to bring in foreigners to work for this island. We've got a tremendous resource with those panhandlers, with those people that are in the prison, and everybody that does not have a job. It's no joke. Work brings dignity. When you have to go to an 8-to-5 job and actually do something with your life and get paid for it, that creates personalities, it creates dignity, it creates culture, it gives you the resources so that you don't have to beg from people. Our leaders are not understanding the problem and directing it. The AG's office understands it. We get the walking orders from the legislature. They say to ticket those people. If nobody tickets them, my team will do it. That is the elected Attorney General's duty to ensure that entire law enforcement does what the legislature does. Their words in these nice, beautiful bills, as Trump would say, beautiful bill, right? A beautiful bill means nothing unless the executive branch implements, enforces. The military here, they're executive branch authorities. They enforce the law. So this is the type of conversation we're having on Guam, that we need to enforce the law. Bigger problem, homelessness. That's why you've got public health. That's why you have our safety net out there. Use it effectively. Stop diddling around with whether a person is feeling bad, whether they have a mental health problem. And by the way, mental health, build a sanatorium. Where's the governor with our sanatorium? In a 150,000 population, we should have a sanatorium with at least 50 beds. We have nothing. We have mental health that maybe has, 4 beds? They're not even an full overnight facility. Guam has mental health. We see it sometimes in the homeless camps, but don't be confused. Drug use also creates the homeless. Drug use creates the mental illness, and drug use creates murderers out there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, the primary cause for us, what we're hearing and from talking to the actual panhandlers, is them taking advantage of our goodness. Again, they would say, oh, ma'am, I went out there to go collect some money because I need cigarettes. And, so I'll say, here, go pick up trash, and then you can get your money, from working. You need to work. Why are you going to be out there? And it is difficult for some of them to get jobs because of their history, their criminal history that they have. They're saying that no one wants to hire them. So we're trying to find ways to help them. I'm telling them to go and I'll help them get like a business license so that they can be their own boss. Go out there and cut grass. Those are the ways I'm helping to solve issues, is talking to business owners or letting them be their own business owner so that they can work on their own time and earn an honest living instead of preying on good people to give them money. And I'm glad that, there's more action again going out there and ticketing them, bring them to where the resources are. This is all a mentality issue that they choose to do. And it's very unfortunate that they are preying on good people. You see them hanging out in front of the church, in front of the stores. And then we're also seeing how they go in and spend. They use the money to go to a game room, trying to get rich quick, as they say. But, if it comes to food or a place for them to stay, a lot of them, it's very sad. A lot of them have family. A lot of families are embarrassed because it's their family member that's out there. But all in all, it's their mentality, and we just need to they need to have more people go out there and talk to them. Let them know that they care and there's services available for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, ma'am.
I just would like to share that one of the theses that one of my students did. I mean, yes, one of my students studied the unhoused women in Guam who have drug use problems. And in that particular paper, I found that I understood more how complicated this problem is, and like these people are vulnerable in many ways, like psychologically, because they also have problems, maybe PTSD, whatever psychological, mental issues they have, and they also have drug use issues, and they are vulnerable physically, they're vulnerable economically. So hearing them, listening to them, and allowing their voices to be heard could be one way in which we can start coming up with more. We already have done a lot of things to address this issue, but another way of doing that could also be by listening to them and hearing their voices, and let these voices be listening to them, and maybe the strategies that we come up with would also consider, their situation, complex situation, to make things more complicated.
Before we move on to the next questions, after question 6, we're going to open the floor to the audience. We did pass out index cards if you do want to ask questions to our panelists. So we'll do that right after question 6. So bring up your questions to the front, and we will ask the questions to the panelists.
Thank you. Question 6. Are there enough support systems such as shelters, job training, and mental health services available for individuals who panhandle?
Sure, I'll start. The one thing that we would need more of, or we do need more of, is shelters. Having a place for people to become stable in a place so that we can address everything else is a challenge here. With the administration so far, we have taken steps to increase government inventory for what we have, hopefully starting up a bed at night soon, and that's going to help those who are on the street, daily at night have a place to have shelter for the night, and the daytime have day services on the other side so that we connect in the services. We're having the Anigu shelter is almost complete. That's going to be targeted towards women and children who are homeless or need to reunify if they're justice-related families. So we're trying to look at the different populations that are facing homelessness and housing instability, and the inventory is the biggest thing, because once you put them in home, they don't become homeless anymore. Then they become customers of services, behavioral health, public health. So just that support system is the one that's in need. Job training also, of course, is a growing island and needing different parts of the economy stimulated. Job training isn't an issue that we work with Department of Labor to do. We have been getting more private businesses involved, and Guam Trades Academy doing boot camps and things like that to open up those opportunities. So it's still a work in progress. Mental health services, I think, also behavioral health does a great job in what they do and in their capacities. So I think the support systems are there, and then just helping people navigate correctly to them to those services is the challenge that we have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that question, and I share the same sentiments with Mr. San Augustine. I think it's really important to know that even the need for a dignity center with what he was sharing about a place to sleep and the next day a place to go to for needing assistance. Yes, we do have nonprofit organizations and government entities that work on this issue, and as always, we're going to say it's a complex issue because of what each individual goes through is completely different from another panhandler. But we do have the Homeless Coalition, mental health, public health, we have the Recovery Lighthouse, we have Oasis, we have a lot of more, Manetlu, we have so much more nonprofit organizations that are there. Maybe what we could do is continue to bring the awareness out, like things like this, and literally talk about it and not be afraid to talk about this issue. If you have legislation in place, like was said earlier, it is implementation from the executive branch, right? It's how much more can we get? Let's revisit the interagencies to work closely with the nonprofit organizations to see how we can adapt, improvise, and overcome what is happening out there. Because the fines are there also. The Department of Public Safety has rules and regulations, and there's also teeth to this as it relates to aggressive panhandling. But how do we enforce it? How do we bring the awareness out? How do we continue to state? And this forum right here that's happening today is a very, very good program to share the awareness, because of the way I understand it, this is being streamlined, am I right? It's being streamlined.
Yes, sir.
And I think the AG's office is a part of that too, so thank you. But we need to do it as a community effort and not put blame from one against another. There are 3 branches of government. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations out there. Bringing the interagency approach and working with our community is a win-win for everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
The last survey that was done, 1,249 people are identifying themselves as homeless. That is a target number. That's how our leaders have to be focused. Go after the 1,249 individuals that say they're homeless. Take those nice vans that are federally funded or locally funded, open the doors up, put them in the vans, take them over to the governor's office, have her cabinet team there, handing out the emergency assistance, the housing vouchers, get them off the streets, out of those jungles, and fix it. This structural approach to things is not working. The Dignity Project, the Opioid Council, where the senators, with all that money that was coming in from all the lawsuits for the abuse of pharmaceuticals and the drug abuse, things like that, 2023, when you guys elected me into office, I quickly identified, get those canines in, 18 canines, and by the way, why hasn't the administration got those 18 dogs that we had authorized? Took them 2 years, they've only got 9. There's a drug connection. The Dignity Project. Most of these homeless, when our investigators, several of whom are here today, when I had those encampments surveyed, they had drug paraphernalia all over the ground. The pipes, the drug, methamphetamine was in the area. This is the problem that we're facing. We're facing drug users, criminals, people that are mentally imbalanced in these gatherings that are defecating, peeing in the encampments. YouTube, what is this guy, Planet Guam? Is anyone shocked by looking at Planet Guam on how this guy, and I think he's from off island, is glorifying our homeless out there? It's not only shocking but pathetic that we have to, our island, when people are looking, hey, should I go here for our vacation, are looking at Planet Guam and seeing somebody talking about what a nice place they have to throw their trash right off the main highway. Harmon, I think, was the last one I saw recently. Project Dignity is one of the many elements that we can use to get them a job. Get them off the street, get them a shower, give them a meal for the evening, breakfast, day labor. Our leaders are not talking about changing the statutes, so you don't need to give anything other than 1 day's labor. You guys in the States, Home Depot, that truck drives up, a bunch of people jump in the back. Carl Gutierrez suggested that for the Guam Visitors Bureau to clean up those parks, 1 day's labor, $100 a day, earn your living and move.
Thank you, sir. This is going to be a question from the audience. Is panhandling a learned or reinforced behavior when we have similar behavior from like the boot drives, if I understand his question? Boot drive collections, intersections like that. Do you think panhandling is a learned or reinforced behavior using those examples?
Yes, and I have brought that up to the administration. I said, they're doing it because you guys have done it. You think it's okay to go out there and collect money fast. So even as a mayor's council, to help, there was a disaster in Japan, and because of tourism and us wanting to help Japan, the Mayor's Council of Guam did one. And just in 2 hours, 2 hours of standing out at Paseo de Oro, the Paseo de Susana intersection around Chief Kapua, just in 2 hours, we made close to $3,000. And then I tell them, and even the former administrations, I said, this is why people are going out there. You guys have shown that to them. They think it's okay. And so even now, like with the different things that I do, with asking those that are blessed, that are rich, that are able to afford and give away food, to give us food for those that are hungry, or things that they need. But the ones that are out there are saying that they need money. They're gonna go out there and panhandle so that they can get cigarettes, they can buy their alcohol, or even just to go watch a movie. So I work with different businesses to see how we can help them maybe get a discount on going to the theater instead of standing out there. Maybe if they can help clean around the business so that they can get funds to buy what they need. But panhandling is a big no-no for me, for their safety, and for everyone that is being preyed on for their goodness of giving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is panhandling learned? As a psychologist, I would say everything is learned. But panhandling could also be a way of coping with the things that are, it's a coping mech. Like, if people's needs, if a person's needs, basic needs are not satisfied, how do we, it's basic. That's why we do something to address that. And if you don't have money, if you're unemployed, what do? You make sure that you still have that need, basic need. And one way of doing that could be by asking people to help you. Sorry, I may.
Thank you.
I'd also agree it's a learned thing, but it's just trying something, and if it's successful, then you keep doing it. So it's the same thing when we didn't have GoFundMe's maybe 5-6 years ago. Now everyone has a GoFundMe site when they need something. So it's a definitely learned thing from something being successful that they tried before.
What Guam faces right now is cycles of poverty, okay? The idea that when a family gets so reliant upon handouts, GURA, public health assistance, food stamps, that their kids become reliant upon it. We need leaders need to interject there. Bill Clinton, welfare to work, right? What did the Republicans do after that? I think they just ignored it. We need to stop this on our local level. We need to require that the handout safety net model that was initially created to help those people that are truly in need of help receive the help for that period and then get them back on their feet through a job. The leader's duty at this table and at Adelut, find jobs for people. The H2 workers shouldn't be here when we have homeless that are able-bodied to work. Talk to the admiral, talk to the general. Why is it that a criminal conviction prevents you from going on base? These are all just at the discretion of these military leaders, that they're not allowing people with a criminal record to go on the base. That's the type of conversations we need to have at the government level, so that we can get the legislature, we can get the governor to start helping these people, the 1,200 people out there that need our help because they identify as homeless. The number is not insurmountable. You go to the states, especially those blue states, blue cities, the numbers are so bad that it's just triage. We're not in that condition yet of a triage that all of our people are homeless, or a great number of them are homeless. And look to the history of the United States. The Great Depression was the model that our leaders should be following. The Great Depression caused people that were otherwise middle class to go into poverty. What did they do? They created a soup kitchen. They created the Dignity Project. They created a 24-hour type of facility. You get in and you get out. You get your meal and go find a job. That's what Guam needs to talk about. Stop holding people's hands and show them the path and have those jobs available for them. We're not doing it as a government. We're talking till we turn blue, while our kids are becoming future GURA recipients. Stop our children from thinking it's okay to apply at public health, to see a panhandler. That's what I want to be in life. To hell with that. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an employee of the Department of Public Health. I want to be a producing member of our community. The whole psychology needs to change in our community, and it starts with our leaders, with laws like the panhandling law. Cite them. Do not reward bad behavior.
Thank you, sir. Another question. Is there any evidence that panhandlers are organized as a business model for the benefit of others?
Repeat the question.
Is there any evidence that panhandlers are organized as a business model?
I'm just going to take a quick shot at that. Yeah. I have several people in the audience right now that will tell you that they're organized. Yep. These panhandlers, when they're going to the intersections, they already know our standard routine, 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. So you get them literally as we're driving up, either running to their encampment or probably messaging each other. We're on our way. So are they organized? Yes.
Thank you.
It's sad to say that, like I said earlier, when I said there was a group of them collecting, and they literally went to a restaurant and sat down comparing how much each of them made. And when I said, one of them said that they made $600, the other individual was so upset that they wanted to take the spot where that individual was. So is it an organized thing? I mean, it's all about perception. It's about how these guys think that they can fool the system, or maybe cheat the system and not have to work. And that's how it's how a person wants to feel about their self-worth, their dignity, their respect for themselves. And if the AG is saying that it's organized because they're already informing others, like, don't go there right now because the AG is going to get there and cite you, I mean, you go figure, but I think it's having to literally work the balance because of our freedom of speech. It's how do you find that balance, right? If you're abusing the system, it's not fair. And like the Tamuning mayor has mentioned, she don't like panhandlers. It's not right, it's not right, it's not fair. It's you, but again, do you look at the complexities based on what the good doctor said about, is it an emotional issue? Is it a domestic issue? Is it a mental health issue? Is it drugs, substance abuse? Is it PTSD from military notes? So, my thought.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question, how should the community balance compassion for those in need with public safety and order?
I think I'll just say that as a driver or any person out in the community, you have the option to give or not give. If you feel unsafe, then by all means, keep your window rolled up. Don't even, pay attention to it. There are other ways if you want to contribute. You could go to the Guam Homeless Coalition. You could donate there. There are different ways if you are uncomfortable by panhandlers or other people asking for money. So I think, as we have the law here, that is the balance. We have law, we should abide by law. We have the public that needs safety, and that's what the law is for. So there's the balance. If anyone upsets that balance, then of course they'll be subject to, the AG and any kind of criminal charges. For those who just want to help someone with a drink, you don't have to give money. You could give a drink, you could give food if you're worried about them, using money for drugs. There's a balance within yourself that you can figure out. How much you want to donate, how much you want to contribute to somebody's, lifestyle. But I think as a person in the community that wants it to be better, worry about the laws and the safety. I think that's the biggest thing is that's what we all want is safety and law in our community. So if you feel that way and we have different ways. You could call the mayor, you could call the GPD if anyone's making you feel unsafe, and they'll enforce the law. But that would be the way that we balance it is if you are feel unsafe, then you go to the correct authorities to enforce that.
Thank you, sir.
So many proud people come to me, friends that I know that have compassion and a great heart. They come to me and say, oh, I gave to that panhandler out there. Oh, he looked hungry. And then, so I tell them, I said, you're the reason why they keep going out there doing that. You keep giving them, they'll want to stand out there all day. Because they're looking for more people like you that are giving. And so I tell them, why don't you offer them a job? Pull over to the side and ask them to clean your car and pay them. Show them that you need to work for your money like all of us do. And so, I'm very grateful for a lot of people that have compassion and a good heart, but please teach them to do it right. Like all of us that are trying to be educated, go out and work for your money. If you want something, work for it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'd just like to add, we're talking about compassion, we're talking about dignity, we're talking about addressing poverty, etc. I'd like to add that one way of labels are very important to me. So I think we have to start with not using the word homeless in referring to them, but rather refer to them as unhoused. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think for me, when I wrote this question, when I tried to answer this question, I looked at empathy and understanding, right? Recognizing their challenges. I looked at accessible support services. What do we need to do? Shelters, food banks, and mental health programs, right? When we looked at collaboration, right, we have to emphasize the need for our community to get involved. When we look at education and awareness, it's to reduce the stigma and raise the awareness in the community, right? And now we want our community to be right, safe. And then when we do all that, we also say we have the enforcement with compassion in here, because we do have the designated provisions in statute that show what you can and cannot do. And then you could say enforcement with compassion, or you can say you're really doing it wrong. It depends if you're talking to the AG, if you're talking with me, who has a lot of heart to do a lot of things. And for me, also implementing community policing, getting the community involved, saying, hey, like the mayor said, go out and ask the guy, if you clean my yard, if you do this, I will give you this much, because you earned it, right? And then how do we look at the bigger picture and that solution? So I literally detailed how many things that we have already done or what we can continue to do. But does our community want to get involved to try and help? That's the bigger picture. Do we slam them, or do we work with empathy and compassion? We have provisions in place already. It's your approach. It's our approach, not your approach, our approach. And that's where I stand at heart on this one. Because it wasn't easy for me when I was doing this bill, between the right to free speech or the right to make sure that the community is safe or the villages are safe. And literally working with the mayors, because they're the 24/7 responders to everything that happens in their villages. And I'm telling you, they have a lot of sleepless nights. The good mayor just shared with me photos at what, midnight? That came to you? Oh my God, what do they do? So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Just as a reminder for the people that just came in, we're passing out index cards if you have a question, and then we can bring it up for the panelists. One of the questions from the audience, this is for AG Moylan. Is it your stance, then, that the executive branch is the cause of the issue being perpetuated? If so, is it due to the lack of communication or a difference of goals and intents? Finally, everyone can talk, so what is a practical solution to ensure that the executive branch, too, is doing its job?
Okay, so let's take that question apart. First, the question was, is the executive branch. The executive branch receives most of the $1.4 billion budget. The legislature and the judiciary are small percentages of it. The plan from the AG's office is what that billboard was up for 2 months about. The governor controls most of her cabinet and the ability to take the money that we all pay, put the 1,249 in those Guam mass transit buses, and take them down to a central facility. We did this in 2023 when we addressed the homeless encampment that was next to the mall. That's why I know exactly what's going on in those homeless encampments, and I know the type of personalities that you're seeing there. That survey was important because it's a fixed number. Yes, the governor has the ability. Yes, it's the governor's job. Governor doesn't do her job. Either get her to do it or replace her. AG doesn't do his job. He either does it or you replace him. That's the beauty of a democracy. So I would say to the question, yes, the governor is the most powerful person for purposes of controlling your money. That's a lot of money. Most of the people that you see talking about the homeless are associated with the governor's office, whether they're a nonprofit, whether they're public health, Guam Behavioral Health, Department of Labor. All these organizations are responsible for maintaining our quality of life and for getting those 1,249 people off the streets out of our good mayor Tamuning village. Tamuning is Guam's commercial district. It's right in front of the Attorney General's office. You know how bizarre that is, that you've got panhandlers on all four sides of that intersection breaking the law in front of the Attorney General's office, affecting our commercial district where all the tourists are coming out of Tumon? It's hurting us. We need to stop it. Compassion doesn't mean hurting people. Look at your own lives. Before I was the Attorney General, a few years before that, I saw a man on the side of the road holding a sign that says, "We'll work for food." That's exactly what the mayor talked about. I have more compassion for that person than I do some guy in the middle of the intersection guilt-tripping you as he's going to each car looking in your window. And my people will tell you, they're flicking us off out there. They're laughing at us across the street. Look at some of our reels that we're doing. A whole bunch of them in the Harmon intersection are at that motel across the street mocking our group as we're enforcing the law. That's the type of homelessness. These people are not what you think they are. Until they're vetted, picked up, and brought into the governor's office, public health, where they fill the questionnaire out. How much do you have in your bank account? How much are you getting in current welfare assistance? That's when you can show the compassion, and that's when you can provide the help. We're not doing it yet.
Thank you, sir. Another question from the audience.
This question is again for the attorney, Moylan. There's some reference to your answer, and it was in focusing on bringing Taiwan infrastructure industries here. So the question is what is the plan for that to bring it here, and who's taking on the idea or task, and who's going to fund it?
I saw this a few years ago. What did Hong Kong do when their covenant with China and England? Britain went right to Hong Kong and said to all of them, you're about ready to lose British rule. We will give you citizenship if you take your money in the bank and come over to Britain. We're not thinking, we're talking about panhandlers today when we should be talking about how powerful Taiwan is for the chip making, the one that Trump is talking about every day, where they're trying to pull back the chip making back into the United States so that we aren't dependent, all our cars and all our electronics. They're holding us hostage now, with the rare earth minerals? They're trying, China is its own power. Also realize, people, that's a civil war over there, and it's affecting us on Guam. They start a war, we're going to get it first, and then probably the rest of the world. Taiwan should be talking, and our leaders should be talking about, take their industrial might, which made Taiwan great, and bring it to the Marianas. Our entire island chain here is conducive to a quick removal of that chip-making industry to American soil. Our Organic Act has the tax benefits, the tax write-off. I disagree with Parkinson. If we try to play the game against Trump like we did years ago by using Guam as a transshipment point, they're going to lock us down. But if we start the industry on Guam, where we actually have the chip-making industry and those rich Taiwanese industrialists coming to Guam, setting up their factory, Guam, Saipan, the whole chain, that is the future economic well-being of our community. So, that's the type of conversations that we need to have.
Thank you, Attorney General. Continuing on, the next question from the audience is for Mayor Luis Rivera. You stated earlier that these panhandlers go to their mayor's office and ask for assistance. What type of assistance does your office provide? And lastly, does your bias against panhandlers affect your office's ability to assist people in the actual need?
A lot of times they do come in asking for food. And so I always make sure we have like couple noodles or kimchi balls just so that we can give them a hot meal. A lot of times, if there is leftovers from the senior citizen operations, food that is brought in there, we share that with them instead of it going into the trash. People will appreciate that. There's no bias, no matter what. A lot of things that I'm not able to handle and care for, I pray on, and I go out there and ask for help. I'm asking for help from everyone. I appreciate our legislature, our senators, the administration, and the different agencies. I do call on them a lot. I bother them. I really appreciate the Attorney General's office and his staff for enforcing, helping Guam Police Department. I was just sharing with the senator that action was going on in the Tumuning area again after midnight. And I myself was calling the Guam Police Department and they were not answering. They did not answer, and then my phone just kept clicking off. I'm glad I have direct contact to our commander and the sergeant, but how about everybody else? The rest of the residents that call on us and say that Mayor, can you be the one to call the police because they don't answer me? Or, they won't talk to me. It's faster if you do it. They call at me for all these little things because of that, not getting the response. And so I was really hoping to meet with Chief Ignacio today to discuss this issue that just happened past midnight last night. We need help, and we need to all work together. And so I'm explaining to everyone, out of all the 19 mayors, that we have municipal planning councils, I'm very honored to be here, to be invited. Out of 19 mayors, I'm the one that's here. And I really appreciate it because we all need to work together. UOG students, all the government agencies, the administration. I too have meetings with the governor, and these are the things I tell her. My issues today are, and has always been, with those that have their psychological issues, mentality issues, and stray dogs, stray animals that we cannot control. I do my best to try to talk to people to understand. I respect and have compassion for those in need, but they should also respect others as well, and don't take advantage of our goodness. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll go with one more audience question, and then we'll move on with the panels. Isn't the problem that cuts across all agencies involved funding? That's the question from the audience. Who's first?
I want to say, with resources, with funding, everything can happen. But because resources are spread real thin, especially with what's happening today, and the unexpected executive orders that continue to come down to cut a lot of the mission mandates that we need to work within the community, of course, it's going to affect everybody. That is the trickle effect, the domino effect that's going to happen to hurt our community without that resources. And my personal belief is, how can we continue to come together with the community? All through this whole forum, I've talked about interagency support, I talked about the government support, and I talked about the nonprofit organization support. It's going, that saying, it takes a village, that it's really needed. Bringing the awareness out, bringing the do's and don'ts, making sure that the education is out there, and us as government, and the government entity is also working with empathy and compassion, is when we give from the heart and it's violated because they don't appreciate it, then you really got something wrong. But resources is a key. And how do we get that money? Right? And a lot of times working with our nonprofit organizations has been really successful because they do more than not, and people don't realize it. And I'm very appreciative and I support a lot of the things that they're doing, but in the same vein, working with the government agencies, people like the Homeless Coalition, we all need to continue to come together to see what we can do to help.
Thank you, Senator. Sir.
This is why we're here today. You guys are the future of Guam. You literally are the future of Guam, the future leaders of the positions that we hold up here. Resources and getting a problem fixed. I don't agree, and I have full respect for the senator. It's very important, the basic resources, and they have fully funded this government. When I was the Attorney General 20 years ago, we had a $400 million budget at best. We've got a $1.4 billion budget with surpluses coming in every other month because of the military spending that's going on. This billboard, this isn't just a billboard. This is the result of a team of attorneys and support staff that came up with the idea, the 1,249 individuals that they said are homeless, pick them up. We have the vans, we have the Guam Regional Transit Authority, like we did in 2023 with the mall. pick them up, take them to Dededo Flea Market back in 2023, take them to a facility and get the resources together with those 1,249 individuals. Vet them, who's actually poor, who's actually in need, identify those that are not in need, give them the warning that if they don't comply with the law, i.e., don't set up your homeless encampments on our property, the government property, and don't set up in that Harmon place that we had to deal with, private property owners. That's the way we live in life. That's what we need to restore to our community. This was not a big budget solution. This was existing government resources that the legislature had appropriated with a leader that knew how to solve the problem. And what did the governor do? She took her logos off. She sent me a threatening letter to take mental health, her office logos off the sign. That's the type of leadership that we're not getting right now.
Thank you, sir. Our next question. What alternative solutions could be implemented to reduce panhandling without criminalizing poverty?
I said it earlier, bringing back the interagency approach with everyone at the same table, at the same time, to map out the pipeline out of the homelessness through government and the nonprofit organization services is one of the key figures. Bringing the educational awareness out to the community, doing events like this, you know, working closely with all our entities. Our mayors, I continue to say, are the 24/7 responders, and they do their darnest to do good for their residents. We need to continue to support them. And it's a balance of all of that coming together at the same table and seeing what we can do. I know that there's a number of 1,294 that keeps coming out, and if we have to address case by case, we do know as a government that we have stepped up to the plate to provide these facilities and these programs. Are the panhandlers willing to come and get that interagency support? Believe it or not, sometimes they don't want it. You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it. It's, do these people want that help? Because believe it or not, some of them don't want it. You can give them everything, but once you put rules and regulations in place, they say goodbye. So.
Well, let me start with I know the numbers coming up for the pit count. Being involved in the pit count, the number for 2024 was 1,249 people. Involved in that whole number is the Homeless Coalition takes account those in shelter, street homeless, and then also counted is those who are on CLTC properties that may be in substandard housing. So tin shacks, things like that. So overall, it's usually in thirds. Maybe there's 600, 700 people in shelter, maybe about 300 in CLTC properties. So street homeless number is, somewhere around 400, 500 for the whole island. And that is, one of the population that we are discussing here today. So with that, I think what we can do for them and, for anyone that's facing any kind of poverty, housing instability, things like that, is the empowerment. Giving them all the power for themselves to find those opportunities, leading them to the opportunity that they can take a hold of themselves and take advantage of that opportunity. Giving a penalty for panhandling is, in the form of any kind of monetary fine or things like that. That usually is something that does not resonate. They will probably crumple it up and throw it away because they don't have money to pay for that anyway, or they might, but they won't. If that doesn't work, what can be done to implement that? It's, maybe if they need to face a penalty, we have to focus on beautification for the island. Maybe they can do some work at the parks. Maybe offer them, like Mayor Louise said, give them a stipend for daily work at a park clean up, get your money, and then we have a beautiful island, and we have, someone that made some money. Paying a bus stop, we can figure out some way to have some daily work and daily pay. I think that's something that we all kind of agree on is giving that opportunity, whether it's saying it's for dignity or empowerment. It is an opportunity for someone to do better than they did yesterday.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
So let's understand the concepts here. It is not a crime to be poor. It is never a crime to be poor. It is a crime when you hurt other people or violate laws that say you are supposed to act a certain way. The problem with the homeless and the poor are they impose their will upon other people that violates the law. We opened up here today talking about rights. This is a billboard that we had a few months ago. The Panbuster emblem that we put up, warning that we were going to start enforcement activity with the legislature's panhandling law. Some creative artist spray painted on it, "Housing is a human right." Sounds like a college-educated person that would put something like that. A political statement, "Housing is not a human right." And I'll make that very clear right now. The American dream is you work, you get paid, you go to school, you get a better pay, and you buy your house. You afford your rental. Housing is not a human right in the American system. To get to that is what we need to discuss in this forum. How do we get to that point where we reduce our number of homeless and our poor, truly homeless and poor? Conversation that was discussed. Well, some people aren't going to want to work, or they don't want the job, they don't want the help. Well, then you will suffer like the rest of us suffer if you try to set your tent up on my land or on the people's land. And that is where the police come in, and they ask you to move, and if you don't, they take you to the precinct and they charge you with trespassing. That's the type of conversation. That's what that billboard was intended to do. Step one, Governor, take these people, vet them, the 1,200 or the 300, whatever the number is, and I would love to be at 300, more manageable. Give them their warning shot. If they don't take the services and get the help or get the job that the governor can make available, then you will suffer the consequences of violating people's rights. The people of Guam have rights on their property. You can't just set up your vendor or your tent on our property. Only the legislature and our leaders can do that. They're the ones that use the property. That's the type of conversation that we have started in this. But don't delude yourself that housing is a human right. This is what the communists say when they turn all their people into slaves of a Politburo. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next question. What role should local organizations, churches, and businesses play in addressing the issue?
They should be the leaders in this arena. They should be the ones to help bring the awareness to their congregation, to their members, to the employees. But ladies and gentlemen, it truly is a concerted effort. That question was, when I looked at that question, I said, yes, most definitely. But everybody should be taking leadership and doing what is right to help. Guam, we live in a beautiful paradise. And in over 6 decades I've been around, and it wasn't until just recently where we started to see this happening on our island. Before, in the past, our elders, our signers, if somebody was not homeless but houseless, somebody else took them in. If somebody was hungry and said, "Auntie, I didn't eat," they say, "Mailahalam, come in." If they went to their church, there was always a place to take them in. Somehow we forgot about a lot of that. We all should take leadership.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm from the academe, so I think the most that we can, or one of the things that we can do is like hold fora like this to start the conversation or continue the conversation. Another thing that we can do is continue to do research. The kind of research that does not just go wide, but also go deep. What do I mean by that? By looking at the perspectives, looking at the lived experience, looking at how the different players of this particular social issue position each other, and whatever findings we may be able to get or generate, we share it with the government, for example, organizations that would be able to, that will be helped by this information. And hopefully that will help them maybe improve whatever interventions we already have, whatever programs we already have, and come up with, better solution to this particular problem.
Thank you, ma'am.
I call on our government agencies. I call on Robson Augustine a lot because, the churches and different organizations have been helping. A lot of them have compassion and a great heart that they join these organizations. They're a part of it. So a lot of times there's Catholic social services and different church groups that are having food drives so that they can turn around and help the mayor give food to the people that they always see outside asking, things like that. But they shouldn't have to do that. I mean, if there were more support services, are they doing that? I believe a lot of people out there feel that it's the duties of our government, and that is why I call on the governor and Robson Augustine a lot, because to help me, because the church will call me and say, Mayor, we have homeless sleeping out in front of the church and we have services, starting pretty soon. Or they'll tell me that they're scaring the people that go there to, just to have, they go there to pray, and they're sometimes the overnight watchers of the church and stuff, but other people are there. So, a lot of times they call on me because they also feel it's the government's duty. That's why they're calling me. I, in turn, call GPD, I call Robson Augustine with the Homeless Coalition. Where can we bring them? What services, can we have? A lot of times I'm calling on the private businesses. This person was just brought in from they just came from the airport. They come straight to the mayor's office because we're the first one, the closest mayor's office from the airport. They're brought straight there, and where can I bring them? I'm calling on business owners to allow them to stay in their hotel. Can you stay there for the night until they can get the services tomorrow, during the day? A lot of things happen at night. And so after hours, there's the government services that only work 8 to 5, and we cannot bother them after 5. I really appreciate those that do take my calls after hours and are able to assist us in assisting others. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think for me, for the what we can do, just as my agency goes, and also being the vice chair of the Homeless Coalition, is that we can continue to have our outreaches, and more awareness in the community, make sure people are informed of the law and encourage following it, having timely and clear navigation of the resources, just to decrease panhandling is basically what we try to do when the mayor calls. We try to make sure that we have some kind of idea of where options we can give to her. I know when we've spoken to the Rotary Club of Guam, a lot of people don't know what to do. Like, hey, I have this guy sleeping out here, what do I do? Who do I call? So just having that knowledge and then putting that out to the public so that they can have at least a good idea of what resources they have and they could tap on if they are confronted with any certain situation.
The reference to the Catholic Church, to churches in general, I think we all have to recognize that churches are essentially socialist type organizations. They're the type that create the equality and the distribution and the helping the community. But as a government, it's the legislature that sets what the rules of the game and the policies are. It's very important in our way of life that we have the religious community, the churches, that we have the nonprofit organizations like Robert and his group. Those are the extras on top of what we expect from our government, because we pay for the government. The churches and the nonprofits, they get their funding from different sources, their membership, things like that. So our conversation today, we should show that there is a distinguishing feature between the elected leaders, the leaders that you pay our salaries for, and those other organizations that we spend our extra time, we donate to, we commit our extra time to and volunteer, those sorts of things. So I think that if we got a good government with our good leaders, the community out there, the religious community and the nonprofits, we'll improve our quality of life even faster. But more so, we'll change our DNA so that our kids don't have to live through what we lived through. And I tell you that panhandling before I was elected in 2023, it was commonplace. I'm talking about years. You would see them at the intersections, 5 years, 6 years. That's what we're training our kids to do. And we got to use every resource at our disposal. But with minds like you out there in this forum, the college-educated mind, the fact that you can get that degree, it's not the degree you get, but your way of thinking. Think outside the box.
Thank you, sir. Our next question. What successful strategies have other places used to reduce panhandling, and could that be applied to Guam?
First one is get the panhandlers off the streets. You talk about successful. Look at the tourist destinations in the world. Look at the island communities around us. They don't tolerate this. This is not their level of conversation where we're getting the University of Guam, the leaders of tomorrow here talking about should we have panhandling or not, should we have the poor or not, should we have the homeless or not. Let's fix it. That's what you're seeing in these communities around us. Now they're a bit more draconian, like I mentioned, the Singapore, I think it's a Muslim community, Islam sort of thing. Very, cut off your hand if you steal sort of type of approach. That's not what I'm advocating. I'm saying that there's different ways for us as a Guamanian community to become the island that we want to believe that we are. The melting pot of people that have warm hearts, that help the people that are in need of it. We talk about the family system up here, the respect to. The reason why a lot of these people are, by the way, when we hit that mall encampment, they weren't Chuckies, they weren't non-U.S. citizens, they weren't people outside our community. They were good family names, Chamorro names that we found in there. Why were they there? A lot of it is because once you become a meth addict, everybody does not want to be around you. That's the danger of what we're facing. That meth epidemic I keep on going back to, once you become a meth addict, you no longer are the same person that your family loved. You hurt your family, and they naturally don't want you around anymore, especially when we all have to work these days, both the husbands and the wives, and even the kids, you guys out there, second jobs, things like that. We don't have enough bandwidth and time to be dealing with other people's problems as we increase our quality of life. We become dependent upon our paychecks to have internet, to have air conditioning, to have everything that we're enjoying. Thank you.
And successful strategies that have happened in other places. For me, I've met with other mayors in the Philippines where we have sister cities. I'm also a part of the Association of the Mariana Island Mayors. And what they have done also to help with their panhandling was to get those individuals to put on a uniform and go to work. Work for your money instead of panhandling. Earn your money an honest way. And so that's what they were doing, putting them in uniforms and gave them a job to do, clean up the streets. And so they weren't panhandlers, they were street workers. changing the title. So I believe that that can be applied to Guam. And again, visiting these encampments and talking to these individuals, it's just them being lazy and, you know, not wanting to get a job. I even help try to fill out applications for them. You need somebody to write. Can you read? Things like that. There's more social workers that need to be out there. You know, I know a lot of them, when I meet up with some social workers, you know, we know who they're talking about, you know, they'll ask me, Louise, did you already help them? You know, I've tried, and they choose not to, you know, they don't wanna, you know, continue all the way with their applications. We do our best to refer them to places. We want them off the streets and to have their own restroom or kitchen, you know, their own dining table to sit at. It's just them that need to be able to help. So if everyone can talk to, you know, to them and show them that it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to pray and beg. You know, we'll help out if you want to help yourself. You have to help yourself. Thank you.
For this question, I want to share that in the past, I've worked with Speaker Judy Wampat on the Housing First initiative, and this initiative has been adopted around the world, and simply put, it gives a homeless person a place to stay and ask questions later, and usually this place has support services to help them address the underlying issues that are real. And as Mayor Rivera has noted, right, sometimes people might not seek for these services because, for one, they don't qualify, whether it be trying to pass a drug test or having a criminal record or other issues, like we bring up the mental issues, the domestic issues, the substance abuse, all those are a part of the issue. And my take is we can continue to do this. Is how much do they want to have the assistance help for them? Mr. St. Augustine is the head of the Homeless Coalition, working with other government agencies, bringing that interagency again up to the forefront. It's all there. It's how much do we want to do to make these folks get the services that are available to them. Thank you.
Maybe just to conclude everything, I would say that the best strategy would be to address structural violence. I stand by that.
All right, so we are short on time right now. However, we do have questions from the audience still. I will give these questions to our panelists, and if they're willing to answer it, we could get your response and then post it on our social media platform just for the audience to review. Is that okay? Okay, so this is going to be our closing remark. We're going to start on the ceremony, and we're going to give gifts to each of our panelists who have participated in our forum today.
Okay, we're going to present Attorney General Douglas Moylan. If you can just. Next is Professor Bacano. Sorry. Thank you. The next would be Mayor Luis Rivera. Thank you. Senator Tina Munya Barnes. Director Robert San Augustine.
So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to congratulate the forum class. So we'll start off with Lucas. We'll give him the. Here's your leave. Yay. Elaine. And then my next one is Joe. The next one is Paul, the timer. My next one is Jarek. Okay. And then I have Jay. So Lenny's in the front watching our stuff, but let's make a round of applause for Lenny. My next one is Paula. And then I have my co-chair, Naya. She's And then I'm gonna give one to our dean. The last one is me, Z. Can we just have our panelists and then the people in the front, in the middle, so we can take a group picture?